This Hex of Coffee is giving me life right now.
Zippity
doo-dah. It's the start of a brand new day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. This episode is brought to you by Hexa Coffee. This is a Chicago-based coffee company run by a good friend of ours, Parker Slade, who was on episode 11 of this podcast. Yeah, you'll fall in love with him. But it's really cool. They source these beans from all over the world, but roast them in the city of Chicago. They do good blends and even age some of their coffee in bourbon barrels to give it this Scotch flavor. That's actually this here, the Bone Shaker Bourbon. And it's great on ice, which I'm drinking right now. And they've got a brick and mortar cafe now open in the city of Chicago. Christine, where can people find that?
You can check them out at Clybourne and Diversey. I believe that's Roscoe Village, I think, for all you Chicago people. And you should. They host events there from time to time, live music. Plus, they're open 7 days a week with tons of pastries, sandwiches, good old food, plus beer on draft and cocktails made with their amazing coffee. So it's definitely worth a visit.
Absolutely. And if you don't live in Chicago, fear not. You can order Hexa Coffee online, and we've got a deal for you. So if you go to hexacoffee.com, that's Hexe coffee.com, and use the promo code ELK, you'll get 10% off of your purchase.
Be cool, stay cool, and drink cool coffee.
So on today's show, we have Kendra Huffman, a good friend of ours that we grew up with, and we haven't seen her since we graduated high school. So this is a 13-year reunion you're about to see.
A sweet, sweet reunion indeed.
Enjoy.
You missed it.
Missed what?
Her candid moment, her candid first impression.
Shoot.
No, it's all right. It's so good to see you. It's been
we're matching in our white tees.
Good thinking. I'm glad because you're like quite the stylish lady, so I'll take it.
I'm wearing the same sweatpants that I've been wearing for like 5 days in a row. So
I'm with you there. I had my Adidas are like thrown on the floor in our bedroom the same way.
Yeah, it's just that COVID life.
Are you back to work, like out of the house, or are you still working from home?
Still working from home. We're actually working from home like officially until September. And then they're like, whatever you want to do. It's like work from home flexibility, but it's up to your manager kind of. So I think I'll probably go in like 1 or 2 days a week and then work from home, I guess. I got a dog, so she's staring at me right now. So
nice.
The more flexibility, the better for me.
Can we see the pup?
Show us the pup.
Of course.
We want the
Please
pup.
hold.
I thought you'd never ask.
Yeah.
She's waiting for her moment. I don't know if you remember Lenny.
I do. I totally do.
She doesn't hump like he used to.
Oh my gosh. Well, good.
Wait, what was your dog's name when we grew up?
Lenny.
I think I met Lenny.
Lenny was cute.
You definitely met Lenny. And he was like infamous. He would hump everyone.
Humpin' Huffman.
He had a gusto for that, for sure.
He for sure did.
So wait, what's her name?
Your leg in particular.
Well, I might have pushed that down. No, I do kind of remember that.
Lenny took a liking to you, huh?
Yeah.
You did.
You know what? Nicole had a what are they called? Dachshund too.
Yeah.
And she humped a lot. Bailey. But she liked me. Yeah, Bailey liked me a lot too. I don't know.
Damn, it's good to see you, Kendra.
I know. How are you, Paul?
I'm so
also,
great.
This makes me so happy that you guys are together.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Same.
Oh, man.
I messaged Erica. I'm like, are they dating? I think so, a while ago. And I was like, this just makes me so happy.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It's kind of not that new anymore. We're like almost at 2-year anniversary right now, which is fun.
I know, that's crazy. And surviving COVID is also,
Yeah, we moved in together amidst COVID, and we're hanging strong.
Yeah.
Were you both living in LA when you guys got together?
No, so I was back in Tucson. So I had gone there for college and then stayed for a little bit and then moved to Indianapolis for a few years. And so I was back in Tucson, and then we all met up for a trip, like a big group of us in Taos, New Mexico. And then That was.
I laid it on real thick.
Yeah, he came on pretty thick and.
Actually, Shit Lips told me the story.
Oh yeah.
Shit
Well, I had
lips.
already known from Erica, and then he told me the backstory, and I was like, so cute. Sparks are flying.
That's
Yeah.
right. And what about
I
you?
love that.
You are seeing someone too, right?
I am. Yes, it's a COVID relationship, so
So stuck inside.
it's really fun. What?
Did you live together before that, or?
No. Oh no, we met in COVID. We 100% COVID, which
COVID is all you've known.
Yeah.
Was it like?
COVID is all we've known. It's so fun. I mean, it's so fun. We've had so much fun, and you get to know someone on a very different level because you're just all right, guess we're going to sit in a shoebox now. And in New York, everything is teeny, all our apartments. So yeah, we've dated backwards. Basically, we went on 3 dates outside when it was still warm out in November. And then now we're after that, there was a 10 p.m. curfew. You couldn't go indoors. It was 30 degrees. So it's all right, guess we're just going to hang on the couch and play board games.
Do you live together?
It's been really fun. Sorry?
Do you live together?
No, we don't.
Okay. That would have been.
I mean, in COVID.
Basically.
No, that would have been a whirlwind. No, we do not. We do not.
And you're in New York City, right?
I'm in New York. This is the Empire State Building.
Oh my God!
Oh,
I didn't notice it. How did I miss it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look
So
at
you're in Manhattan?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That's so
In
crazy.
Manhattan. Yeah, it is crazy that you can see that from my window. It changes colors, so we'll see
How
what
cool.
we can do.
So work brought you out there. It wasn't this boyfriend figure. You were there before, doing your thing.
So I was there before doing my thing. I actually am also celebrating my 2-year anniversary in New York.
Oh, cool.
Congrats.
Thanks. It was kind of honestly, I had never left Chicago. I feel obviously we grew up together from Deerfield, went to Illinois. So everyone is from the suburbs, if not the suburb you're from, just towns around it, which is great, fun college experience. But then when I when I graduated and I was back in Chicago, I just felt like my world was so teeny and I had never gotten out. I was working at Snapchat. I'm still working at Snapchat. And I just always was interested in switching offices. So kind of raised my hand and just made the move with work when it made sense. And it's been really fun. So now I've been here for 2 years and I love it so much. And I definitely feel like I've seen more of the world, if you will.
Good
for
you.
sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you worked for Snapchat. What do you do for Snapchat?
I work in advertising sales, so it's not the coolest thing in the world, but it's actually a really fun job. It's a really fun place to work. It's cool. It's very interesting people. Before COVID, I was traveling all over for work, which was awesome. Our headquarters are in LA, so I used to be there a good amount too. So we'll see what the world has for me post-COVID with that. But I've been there for 5 years now.
So as advertising marketing for Snapchat, that's what exactly is that?
So
trying to get people to sign up for Snapchat and get people to use it, you're advertising to the consumer base?
No, that would be fun though. That's our external marketing. So I work with brands. So me in particular, I work on food and beverage brands like junk food pretty much, which is fitting for me. I'm very passionate about
fitting for you.
But I work on a bunch of candy brand. I'm not supposed to say the brands I work on, but
that's okay.
A bunch of candy brands, just consumer packaged goods brands. And I work with those brands to come onto Snapchat to reach their consumers. So we're a little bit old for Snapchat now. I obviously still use it because I work there, but our main user base is heavily teens and young millennials. But Gen Z in particular, and they don't watch TV. They're completely different than how we grew up and how we used to, connect with brands or see commercials, etc. So that's what I do. I encourage them to work to, reach their audience on Snapchat, so that they can talk to this core consumer group that they're not finding elsewhere. So it's interesting, the social channels have kind of become how I think about them now and how I talk about them at work. And this might be boring because it's work talk, but
no, not at all.
It's Instagram, Snapchat. Facebook and Instagram are the same kind of Twitter have almost become like the cable networks of today, kind of. Like we grew up with ABC, CBS, NBC, and those were like where you could find people for advertisers. And now it's like everyone is only on social. So yeah.
That's so
Yeah, that's cool because there's
fascinating.
even like Netflix and Amazon, but you don't get commercials on those things. So it's not for brands.
Yeah. So advertising is
different.
good. It's changed so much. I mean, in the past like 5 years, but it's just going to continue to change. Because no one is watching TV anymore at all. The Oscars, for instance, this past Sunday, like did absolutely horrible.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
The more you know. But
The
that's
more
what
you
I
know.
it is
do.
fascinating.
Isn't it funny that like
it's-
we're not kids anymore? You know, like we're not the youth. Like
oh yeah.
it's a
I know.
weird little thing. Like when you're in your late 20s, early 30s, like you're like, wow, like nobody says like, you're young. Nobody says that anymore. You know, like
I know. And I feel like I blinked and I'm like, I thought like especially at my current job, like I started and I was like the young girl in the office. And now I'm like the old, like, oh, she's been here. She's a dinosaur. And like, I was actually just home in Chicago this past weekend. And like, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I have like a hole in my memory and I feel like I'm 24. Like I was talking to my mom about Mitchell Pool as if it was like I worked there like two years ago. And she's like, that was 10 years ago that you worked there.
I know.
Like,
That's the way. It's so crazy how time flies. I was thinking about that too. And I was like, it doesn't feel like it's been a long time since we've like connected. And I don't know. It doesn't feel like it was
high school
that
graduation
long
was
ago.
13 years ago.
But
so
like,
maybe that's the last time we saw each other.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, a few casual bump-ins perhaps later, but
I don't know if I've seen you since then.
I couldn't tell you the
but
last
I feel like
time.
I mean, that's what's weird about social media is like you feel like you know every detail about someone.
I know.
You know?
It is so weird. True. It's like you're right. There's still intimate awareness of each other's lives, and
it can trick
which is
you
like
too.
great, but weird.
It is bizarre. I was getting at this the other day. It's like, do you lead with that? Like, you know, if you're dating, for example, are you just supposed to pretend that you haven't stalked somebody on social media before you go on a date with them? Or like, do you just acknowledge it and get it out of the way? Like everybody is checking out people before they're meeting, right? Or you can learn something. So like, just, I don't know, just check out the profiles and
I feel like it can trick you too. Like in your head, you're like, I've stayed in touch with Kendra. Like we've stayed in touch, but like we haven't really chatted. Like I don't know much about your life, but like social media has tricked me into thinking like I'm in touch with Kendra because I follow you on Instagram and we like double tap each other's things every now and then.
Yes,
you know?
but thank you for.
It is so true.
Well, thank you for like saying hi on social media and for watching the episodes. I appreciated it.
It makes me so happy. And it was like a dose of nostalgia for me. And it made me also sad in a way because I'm like, oh, I miss all of you guys. Like it was like so nice to see everyone virtually. I mean, as a watcher, obviously, but it is like social media is great in that way. Like Christine, like when I messaged you, I was like so excited that you guys are doing this and it was so awesome. And it's also so detrimental in some ways because I'm like, I don't need to know this about someone that like, not you guys, but like, you know, people are on the peripheral that you end up following or following you. You're like, I don't need to know.
Sure. It's,
what you eat for lunch.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of research out there that talks about the challenges it can pose and like, you know, the irony of having so many friends at your fingertips, but like still not somebody that you're going to pick up the phone to call. And there's a big difference between, you know, staying in touch in that way versus, you know, just going above and beyond or doing what you have to do to see each other. But
absolutely.
I will say COVID probably made it more difficult. I mean, I live alone. So like when I was alone in COVID, any moment that I was alone, I was just like, I guess I'll open Instagram because what else am I going to do? And it did bring me a level of closeness because otherwise you were in solitary confinement. But I recently, now that we're like over a year into COVID, I'm like, all right, we need to put some guardrails in place. I don't need to be like living my life on my phone. I've made a rule that it's like, if I wouldn't grab dinner with a person, I don't I'm not going to follow you anymore, or you don't,
Well, then I'm honored to have the follow.
You do that. Yeah, well, yeah, you did. I would grab a meal with either of you, both of you, but you know what I mean? Like,
sure, of course.
I say that in the best way. I wish everyone well. It's just like, it's uncomfortable. I don't know.
I feel you. I've been trying to like clean house a little bit on Instagram in particular too, because especially when I first got it, I followed people like very liberally. And for me, it was always like, I used it almost like an extension of Pinterest. Like I use it a lot for like finding art and different like inspiration and things. And so it kind of got crazy. And now I'm trying to scale back a little bit. And like some of the accounts I follow, I just don't know how I got there. I wonder, like I'm like, did I really follow this account? It's just like clearly, for like no posts yet. Like there was no reason I would have followed that. I don't know. So
I don't know. It can be bad for your mental health too. It's like you're just comparing to people that you don't even know.
Right. Yeah. Right. And not even to them, but just to their forward facing like image they put out, like that's the other thing. You don't know someone if you follow them on Instagram. You just know sort of what they want to show people, but like to really break through and crack in, it takes a little more. Did you watch The Social Dilemma?
I did. But like working in social media, I was like, this is a little extremist. I was like, you don't just like, first of all, my job wouldn't exist if it was as easy as like turn on ads, like reach these people. Like that's just not how it works. But it was interesting. And like, I think it was blown, not out of proportion. It was like exaggerated, obviously. Okay.
A little hyper.
But so much of that is true. Like with all documentaries, I feel like they can like control what narrative you're seeing kind of. But yes, I did. And it feels like I watched that so long ago, but it was probably not even that long ago. What is time these days?
Well, I guess I just bring it up in that way because I think about it and like he kind of says, even though I know that these things are happening, like it's still hard for me to turn it down or like put the phone down or whatever. So that's the part I don't like about just sort of, it's one thing to choose it. And I think it makes so much sense as a choice. And I support that choice, but it's like that involuntary, how much time have I spent? Like you said, just kind of putting those rules in place for you to maybe have like a healthier relationship with it, I think is probably a good idea. And it'll be interesting. Like you mentioned TV commercials before, but like commercials and stuff, they have a lot of federal regulations about what they can and cannot include in advertising. But I'm not sure, has that kind of like regulation really spilled over to Snapchat or like that of in that way?
So, well, there's a ton. Brand safety is like, this is going to maybe sound boring, but it's actually like very relevant right now, just with Apple just released a bunch of changes in terms of privacy. So not as much regulations in terms of like what's featured in an ad. Like you can't, of course there's like, drugs and alcohol, their own guidelines that they follow. But I think what is going to be most interesting for social and for like any mobile or digital ad is just how they're tracking people, because I'm sure you've seen like ads that are creepily targeted to you, like an exact, thing you were talking about with Paul, like probably shows up on your feed.
Definitely.
So that stuff is where things are cracking down more so than like, smoking a cigarette on TV. I would say that's like what the pinnacle of like brand safety for consumers is lately, is like targeting and data more so.
And how they use it.
So did you go to school for advertising? Was that your major?
I did, which was like a backdoor way, kind of. Like I actually was in art in high school, and I like didn't pursue it a lot, like enough, I should say. I was like I sat next to Tony Tassoni when he was dating Erica. And so I always thought I would like do something with art, just not like necessarily, I didn't know what. And I just kind of got defeated in high school. Like Mr. Black didn't love me. It just like wasn't my wheelhouse really. And so I was like, I want to do something creative. I went at Illinois, we have a really great advertising program. I bounced around within it, but advertising felt the most creative to me at the time, just based on like what the class courses were. And like what I do now is not creative at all. It's like I mean, kind of, but it's not like
You're not drawing
what I want.
things.
I wanted to like illustrate a print ad, and like that could not be further from what I'm doing. But it's like a fun, fun people first, I would say, profession.
I never knew you were so into art.
Most people don't. I have gotten back into it in COVID, but it's more so like I draw and paint has always been.
What kind of stuff do you draw and paint?
Do you have a certain subject you favor? What do you do?
I draw Winnie a lot, my dog.
Cute.
But like, here, I can show you something. But
please.
I do like cartoony. I mean, I do cartoony versions of her because she looks like a cartoon to me. But here,
like a caricature. Yeah, grab it. I'd love to see it.
I mean, I don't have much with me. I was taking classes in Chicago before. Oh, she's standing. Nice. You can't even see her because she's like 4 inches.
No, we see her head there. She's your placeholder. She's your stand-in.
This is what I drew of her recently.
She's so cute.
Genuinely like cartoons because that she like looks like one to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just do it honestly for fun. I made these roses the other day.
Wow,
like they're pretty.
It's just they're like it was always just fun for me or like an outlet. And so I took art in high school and then I take classes as an adult. I took them in Chicago. But like, it was a hobby. And then I think as soon as I was like getting graded for it, I was like, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like,
but
it's an intimidating world, the art world too, right? Like there's just so much incredible talent out there that again, it's like, if you're not careful, it's really hard to be overwhelmed by like, who you aren't, right? Like you're just like, sure. I love my cartoon dog, but it's like, I always feel that way. Like I always feel like a little bit, like I think it's elementary, a lot of my art. Like I draw like the same style that like the same kind of flowers that like you probably saw on my, on my journal covers. Like, but it's still cool. It's not a masterpiece,
but it makes you happy.
Yeah, like, exactly.
If it makes you happy, that was for me. It's like, I just like enjoy doing it. Still now, like if I'm just stressed, I'll just like play around with watercolor pens are my favorite. They're like a marker basically. That's a paintbrush.
I like those too.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun. And it's like, for me, I just like it because it's fun. Like, and when I was a teenager too, I was like, you're going to try and grade me or like correct me. And I like couldn't do it. So then
it's a weird
maybe that's
thing.
the right attitude, right? Like fuck your grading system.
Honestly,
on my art.
It's such a personal self-expression and then to like slap an evaluation on it. It's a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, abrupt. I guess if you're trying to, if you're teaching certain techniques and you're grading those techniques, there's something there, but like your feeling of like, it's elementary, it's too simple. It's like, those are the tricks I think artists fall into so much. Or like my song, like it's nice, but it's just so simple. It's like, I love a simple song. Like, why does it have to be, it doesn't have to be impressively complicated or technical, like,
you're right.
Like I love your art. I love this dog. I love I love shit like that, and a lot of people do, but it's like our brains tell us like, oh, it's like, it should be difficult, like if you draw something really quickly, it's like, oh, but I mean, it's cool, but it only took me 2 seconds. Like, so it's less valuable, but it's not true.
It's important not to get stuck into the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. What you were saying also in COVID, simple songs. So I not by choice as a child had to play the piano, which I regret that I hated it because I love it now. And in COVID, I've been playing it with my boyfriend, but he like got a keyboard in COVID and it's a great activity to do, when you can't leave your apartment. But I was super into Taylor Swift, like not to be sound like the most basic girl in the world, but I loved Folklore and Evermore that she came out with in COVID. And I bought a bunch of the music and it's like the same 3 chords. Like every song is just the easiest, most simple, sheet music that you've ever seen, but it's so fun and enjoyable to play. And I'm like, whatever. I've kind of given up on the, like, you don't need anything to be difficult if it's fun, like just enjoy.
I like it.
Yeah, I agree. Could not agree more.
Yeah.
So when you were in college learning advertising, like, because I feel like Snapchat didn't even exist, right? When you were in college, like all of this, everything you learned, did it become just irrelevant? And like, you know what I mean? Like what were you learning?
Yeah, it was completely irrelevant. So
Oh man.
Basically, like so Facebook existed. It came out when we were in high school. But then like Instagram came out, I want to say senior year of college, and then Snapchat senior year of college too. So like there was no social, as you said, there was not even really like digital advertising.
There were barely like influencers even, or like even Facebook didn't have ads necessarily.
Facebook was truly just people you knew then, I feel like. So how I got into it was genuinely like a lot of the classes were like my projects. I was drawing print ads, or you see your tail, drawing print ads or like writing copy for, print or TV ads. And I have never I worked in print for like 6 months when I graduated, but now print is dying. Like no one buys a magazine anymore. So yeah, it all did kind of become obsolete. So I basically like learned. Sorry, she's like throwing herself into the pillows. She walks behind me at work Zooms all the time, just like this.
It's like she knows she's on camera. She knows what the camera
like a little parrot up there on your shoulder.
She's like, come on, let's give the people a show.
I do work on some dog food brands, so like when I'm talking about them, she'll just make herself known, bark a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, all my classes became obsolete. And then it was just like real world experience. And Snapchat, when I went there, was like brand new. It was still kind of how a lot of our age people were communicating. Like all my friends were communicating on it. And they didn't even really have an ad offering. It was like, it had just been born, basically, their ad offering when I went there. So I was like, all right, let's try it. And it was super fun. So
did you ever like struggle with imposter syndrome there? Like just feel worried about being qualified, or did you feel sort of like ready, confident?
Yeah. I mean, imposter syndrome, I think in general is something I struggle with a lot.
Same.
In all facets of life. But yeah. I feel like at the company at Snapchat, like there's so many smart, brilliant people, and I am in no way near, their caliber at all. So it's easy to feel, imposter syndrome for sure. I would say like, I just, at the end of the day though, I'm like, everyone's in the same boat to some degree. Like you're all humans. Like I just try to remember that at the end of the day. And like, I'm there for a reason. I can, whether it's in a meeting with someone or even, I don't know, anything internally, externally, like I just try to remember everyone is here for a reason. They deserve to be there. You deserve to be there. You know what you're talking about more than anyone else in the room. So I try to remind myself that, but it's difficult. I would say in COVID though, people have been more humanized. That sounds weird, but all of these meetings that used to be, not to like only talk about work, but all of these things that used to be in-person meetings where like, people had to be super buttoned up. You're at home and someone's dog might walk by or bark or
way more intimate.
Cry. And everyone is just kind of brought down a level. So I feel like it's almost helped in a way with imposter syndrome because, you feel you're just as human as the next person and you're deserving too. So, but yes, the imposter syndrome is definitely something.
But plus you're the pro now. You've been around the block a couple times. Like you're
expert.
Yeah. Expert level.
I mean, no, I'm not. There's so many people who are better experts in everything than me, but that's always going to be the case in life. Like sure. There's always someone that knows more. There's always someone that's more prepared. There's always someone that,
and like your boss probably has imposter syndrome or like, your boss's boss or like the president, right. Like, Barack Obama was probably like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Everyone has days like that where they're like, right. Who, so it's like everyone just feels that way is at least how I reckon with my own feelings like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you have to just be brave.
Do you guys feel like you deal with imposter syndrome?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Definitely. I mean, yes, 100%. But I worked on this TV show once where, and like, I just sort of learned that like everybody was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I was like, oh wow, like everybody feels this way. Even the people who have been doing this for years, working on TV shows, like they don't know what they're doing. So like, neither do I. Like, okay, at least nobody knows what they're doing, and everyone feels like they're kind of just trying to keep up with it or something, just trying to survive.
Yeah.
So ever since then, but I still feel it. That just makes me feel better about it, really.
Yeah, no, totally. With your podcast, do you guys feel, well, I want to know the backstory of how you decided to do this, because I'm a big podcast listener in general, hence why I was one of your early listeners.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice.
But I feel like podcasts are blowing up, and, I'm so just happy to talk to you guys before you're the next armchair expert. That's covered. But like, how did you guys decide to get into it? And do you feel like, imposter syndrome, I feel like with the podcast maybe doesn't exist because it's your own thing, but I'm sure you feel, some pressure to succeed, or I don't know.
I don't feel pressure to succeed. Maybe I should.
No,
I guess
either.
the imposter syndrome is sort of just like, with all these incredible podcasts that come around for like really to create awareness and educate people. Like there are a lot of podcasts I would deem like very valuable and like such a great resource. This isn't that,
We're
this
just
is
drinking beers, catching up with old friends.
But what a
Yeah,
perfect
which is fun.
excuse, right? Like, it just created this opportunity for connection, which is something that attracted me to it. It was definitely sort of Paul's idea and Paul's wheelhouse. But it was sort of one of those things you just gotta say yes. I've got the time on my hands, and why not try something new and just give it a try.
Yeah, I feel no pressure about it. Like we're just sort of, I feel like once we're 100 episodes in, like we'll take another look at it, and if it's like, but I feel like we need to get like 100 episodes kind of under our belt before this becomes really anything, or there's any real built-in audience. So the pressure's really off of these episodes. It's like, let's just start doing it, start talking to friends, like get better at it. Like, you got to kind of, in order to get good, you got to just start. You're going to suck at first. So like, we're just starting sucking now,
Yeah.
You guys have not been sucking. I've like thoroughly enjoyed. I haven't listened to all of them, but I've listened to a handful and I've enjoyed them. And maybe it's because I know the people I'm listening to, but I think you guys are crushing it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And also we've been loving it. Like getting to talk to you for an hour or whatever, however long we'll stay on, like amazing, or like even talking with Jeff or like these people who we have stayed in touch with and have seen. How often you just like sort of interview them and like kind of prod at things a little more. So it's
totally.
We've been loving doing it. And I've been getting to know some of Christine's friends that I don't know and vice versa, so it's really cool.
It's just like so easy to let so much time go by too. And one of the things I love about like good friends is like, no matter how much time passes, you can still catch up and it feels like no time's gone. Like it's just sort of like nothing's lost. And that's really fun. And I don't know. Everybody needs more excuses to just pick up the phone and like, just say what's up, say thinking about you kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. No, 100%. And really, it's ironic to be saying this because we're video chat, like this is 100% technology, but just to connect in a way, if I was in the same place as you, I'm sure we would be in real life, but just to connect in a way that's not, over text or social media, like you're talking about, like it really, I agree. It's so needed. And especially in the past year or so, like, I feel like it's so special that you were able to do this just because, no one was able to connect with anyone.
Definitely.
So it's like, it's cool to get back to that. I also think COVID was interesting in a way. Like, I feel like social circles shrunk. Like my immediate circle of who I talk to and see in New York has shrunk, which is fine. Like it's, I feel like most people's have. But then I also do find I like reconnected with people from my past virtually, like, via text, via the phone, more so just because you had time to catch up. I don't know if you guys felt that way. I guess
Definitely.
you did. You kind of started a podcast for it, but
no, it was like it paused everything, and so I think there was a void that came from the busyness of our lifestyles. Like I was working a job that had me like really busy. This was kind of the first like come up for air moment I had in a long time. And I think for most people, it sort of like shook everything. I don't know. Some people like were less impacted. Like your job, you kind of kept the same routine.
Yeah.
but a lot of people were sort of like just really
But it
looking at a
did-
different lifestyle.
Yeah. It did like, like we started our kind of like very close crew, Erica, Jordan, Jeff, these like, we started doing these like weekly Zooms. We don't do them weekly anymore, but like for a while there, we were doing weekly Zooms.
We got Zoom burnout.
Right.
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's real.
But at the beginning of quarantine, we were doing weekly Zooms, and it was like, was there no quarantine? It's not like we'd all be sitting in the same room hanging out. Like we'd still be, so like, and same with family and stuff like that. Like we started doing these kinds of things more often, even though it's not like we were necessarily seeing each other less, like we'd see each other once a year, and talk every now and then. So in that way, it made us more connected to certain people, I think, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like even my family chat, I feel like we're so much more communicative, and like we're all in the same place as we were before this. So it's kind of crazy, but yeah, I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this and catching up with people.
Thanks for being our guest. I don't know what episode this is because we've got a few banked, but you're in the first 20. I mean, this is great.
I'm honored. Like I said, when you're the next Dak Shepard at Monica Padman, you call me up, I'll come back.
We'll definitely have you
You're
back.
welcome back whenever.
So when you moved to New York and then a year later was the quarantine, right?
Yeah, a year later was like, New York's the center of the universe. We're all imploding. So I moved April 15th, 2019. It was supposed to be the 14th, and in true Chicago fashion, there was a snowstorm the day I was supposed to move, so my flight got canceled.
Wow.
So I moved in April of 2019, and then a year later, essentially, the world shut down. But to your point, Christine, like I feel like I had been it was like a welcome come up for air moment for me. I had been going nonstop when I moved, pretty much the second I landed. I just felt like as I mentioned, I like blinked and I became an adult, and I was like, I feel like I haven't like done enough. I haven't seen enough. I haven't said yes to enough things. So I just like jam-packed everything I could in every moment that I could. I didn't say no to anything from the second I moved, and then
awesome.
Quarantine happened. But yeah, it was like the best shakeup I could have done for myself.
What gave you that, like, I need change, I need to move, I need to like really like shake this life up a little bit? What gave you that?
Yeah, like to be honest, I guess when I was in high school, when we were applying to colleges, I didn't want to go, to Illinois, to be honest. Like that was a choice my parents made for me when I got in, and I was like, okay, great. And I'm super grateful. Like, it was an in-state tuition situation. So that's where I landed for that reason.
I mean,
and I can't, like, I can't complain. I have no qualms about that, but what I didn't realize was like, you are secured in a bubble sometimes from like that decision you make where you went to college. Like Christine, you lived in Tucson for several years after going to school there. Like it just inherently changes your trajectory in your early 20s. And I feel like I just ended up being back in Chicago, even though that wasn't like where I wanted to be. When I was a senior in college, I was like applying to jobs in LA and New York. And then Chicago was easy. So I landed there. Even in college, I studied abroad and I went by myself. Jeff Staffman from high school went with me, but like, it wasn't like I went with like this core group of friends. I just always was willing to like do things outside of my comfort zone. And like, just wasn't getting the opportunities or like really taking the chances to do so. I felt like after college. And so then I guess, I was older than I would have liked when I moved, but by my mid 20s, I would say, I would like look around at, coworkers or friends. And I was like, they've all like gotten out, like they've gone to college somewhere else. They've lived in a different city, they've tried other things. And I was just like, here I am living 20 miles from where I grew up, working in the same city that I've known forever. Like I just wanted to get out. And I was like, I don't have kids. I'm not married. Like if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I just had like a seamless opportunity with work. Like why I said it happened a little bit later was just because I waited until it was like a seamless opportunity to move. Basically, my role was transferring to a different office. So then, yeah, I just took the opportunity.
Super
But
cool.
that's kind of how.
And have you seen like, I mean, so you moved to New York and you're like, I'm saying yes to things, I'm doing stuff like this. I'm the new Kendra, you know? Or like, did it feel that way a little bit? And like, do you?
How could it not? I mean, look at it. It's like New York. It's such a energetic place. Did you feel
it really is?
But
Did
I
you feel
go ahead.
lonely, like lonely upon arrival, or were you able to like maintain the enthusiasm once you got there?
So that's interesting. I feel like, not to get like too deep, but I feel like I like felt any like loneliness or feelings of sadness that I felt in that first year. I don't think I like allowed myself to feel them. And then when I was in solitary confinement in quarantine, I went through every emotion in the book. And I don't know if it was just because it was like, you know, the world is ending and I'm in this 400 square foot space and like have nothing to do but think about my own thoughts. But I like just didn't allow. It's a huge city. You can definitely feel lonely more so than you'd ever expect for like this massive, you know, city that you're living in.
Right.
But I think like when I got here, I was just like, okay, like I know this is a blip in my life where I'm truly on my own. Like I'm living on my own, you know, not married, don't have kids, anything. So I just chose to like see everything positively. I was like, I'm going to make friends. Like I genuinely made friends with, I call them my canceled flight friends in the airport that day when my flight was canceled from the snowstorm when I was supposed to move. I met these two sisters that were around our age, living in the city. And we were in the airport for like 6 hours waiting for our flight to update. And then it eventually got canceled. But I just, from that moment, was like, I'm just going to put myself out there and try and make friends. And we exchanged numbers and we've gotten dinner several times in New York since then. So I just feel like I took that attitude and applied it genuinely to every situation. And I was like, I refuse to feel uncomfortable. Like, I'm just going to go for it. And it was the best thing I ever did. That said, of course, like there were Friday nights when, you know, I maybe didn't have plans and I was just sitting on my couch and it was like, okay, this can feel really alone, but I could be in Chicago sitting on my couch on a Friday night too. Like, what's the difference, you know?
Yeah,
So
it's good perspective to keep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
But that said, in COVID, I was like, oh my God, I'm living alone in New York. You can feel really alone. And I'm sure, you know, in quarantine, that's probably the most alone hopefully I'll ever feel. But yeah, it's definitely a place where you feel the energy. Like I used to get annoyed by people that would come back from New York to Chicago. I was like, oh, they got New York. Like Chicago's the best. And now I'm like, oh no, I get it. Like there is, I was like, God, they're so annoying. But there is an energy. It's like, they're like no other city in the world, you know? So it's a cool place. Like you can really be anyone. You can just be yourself and like, you'll find people that are down with that.
I love it.
You think you'll be in New York for a while?
I would like to be. Like I kind of came with no plan. Basically I was like, I'll go where the wind blows me kind of thing, takes me. I don't know what the phrase is.
One of those.
Up my own phrases. Oh look, it's changing colors.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Just for us.
I just was kind of like, we'll see, like we'll give it a go. Similar to your podcast. I'm like, after 100 days, I'll see if I like it anymore.
Yeah.
But I truly like feel like I like love the city so much that I would love to be here long term. Or I'm open, like if I got an opportunity that brought me to another place, like, you know, that I'm interested in living, I would explore that too. But I'm not like, okay, I've done it, I have to go home. Like I'm kind of here until the next thing takes me somewhere.
How cool. Well, that's awesome. I'm actually going to New York next week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'll be out
Well,
there.
let me
Right.
know.
Yeah, if you
Oh my
wanna,
God,
I don't know if you
you're
wanna go
so
get a cupcake or I don't know what we
Yes.
can do. We could probably do something.
What's there to
What
even
do
to
you-
do in New
I
York?
don't know.
What can you do?
What'd you say?
the one thing to do in New York is get a cupcake. But
That's what I think of. I'm like, a bagel? Do you want to go out for a bagel
I
or
hear
a
the
slice
bagels
of
are
pizza?
nice.
For anything. Oh my gosh. Well, they actually just changed the rules. It was bizarre to see because, like I said, there's this energy, and with COVID, there were all these rules. Like there was a 10 p.m. curfew. It was only outdoor dining, which there was never outdoor dining before. So it just definitely, like, after 10:30, I'd be walking my dog and it was like quiet and eerie. It felt bizarre. But now, as of I think Monday, they're changing everything. So there's no more curfew. You can sit at the bar again, which I can truly not wait to just like sit
I'm
at a
with
bar.
you. I
and
miss
have a
it.
beer, like,
Mhm.
oh my God. So I'll be the first person at any bar. Just tell me a bar. But yes, we can do more than just get a cupcake. But let me know when you're here. I'd love to see
Cool.
you.
Yeah, my sister, I'm going to be out there staying with my sister and brother-in-law. And then my other sister, Kelly, is coming in from Indianapolis with my
Oh
nephew.
my God.
So it's going
Oh
to
my
be
God,
so
fun.
fun. It's
That's
gonna
so
be nice.
fun. Erin lives in New York then, I take it?
Yep, she's out in Brooklyn.
Oh, nice. I love Brooklyn.
Yeah, she's been there. God, I don't even know. I don't think she'll ever leave. It gives her so
Yeah.
much stress and anxiety to imagine where else she could fit in after this. Like, talk about getting New York. She's just like, I don't have the patience to live anywhere else at
Yeah.
this point. Like, it's just,
True.
it's so funny.
I
What
mean,
was-
I can see it. Like you can really just like find your niche. Like there's so many people, walks of life. It's just awesome. Like it really just makes me happy to walk down the street.
it is like very different from most of America, right? Like I feel like there's this like, you know, like most Americans, like I'm so car dependent. It's not my favorite thing about me, but I'm so like, I'm about my car. I love the privilege of being able to like come and go to a place whenever I want. And, you know, like New York, that's not even a thing. It's not a way of life. Everything's about like, it's just such a weird service culture, right? Like nobody does their laundry. Like you send your laundry out. Like it's just a nonstop commotion really, but like so seamless too. Like it just manages to take care of so many people all the time.
My perception of New York is like there's more face-to-face interaction. Like LA is a car city. Like there's a lot of us, but we stay in our own little bubbles and we float around. We don't really touch each other. But like in New York, I feel like you're more, you know, has that been your experience? And is it a lot more like that than Chicago was? Like how does Chicago compare to New York
Yeah,
in that
because
way?
we never lived in Chicago
Yeah, we
either.
never-
so we're
exactly.
like, we can't even
that's
really
so
relate to that.
interesting.
I don't know
Yeah.
Chicago geography at all. People are like, I was in
Me
like
either.
Wicker Park. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where
You're
that
like
is.
Deerfield, Riverwood, Highland
Yeah,
Park.
I'm like, I know Jewett Park. I know Mitchell Park.
No longer Mitchell, which is actually an incredible move. But they changed the name because Mitchell has such racist roots.
Interesting.
that-
I didn't know that happened.
Because that
Did
was
you
where
know
there was going to be like a
background?
housing development.
I didn't know that. I didn't
So
know
was that
it
Mr.
got
Mitchell who
changed.
blocked it? He's like, no.
That was James C. Mitchell. Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
So they changed it recently. I don't know what it's called now. I just drove by it when I was there, when I was home last weekend.
Isn't
But
that
they changed it.
Brian Simpson worked on a documentary about that,
He
right?
is working on one.
Or
Yeah,
maybe-
Brian Simpson has been making the
cool.
documentary. I'll have to ask him if I need to cut this out or not. But he's been making a documentary about that, like just about that whole thing and kind of how it's because they're trying to make a low income
They don't have
housing
it.
development right now on Deerfield Road, like. As you kind of pass that Starbucks on your way into Highland Park, and there's that church there and stuff. I think they're trying to put a low-income housing thing there now, and it's kind of like there's a lot of similarities, or it's something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much
Okay.
Brian wants me to talk about, so I'll have to ask him. But Brian is making something about it. He's been working on it for years. Yeah.
Side note.
Wow. Well, that is so cool. And also, not to derail when I was like James C. Mitchell, but it's a fun fact. Well, not a fun fact. I just think it's cool that Deerfield is the name. It's
Yeah.
a horrible fact. That's how.
Yeah. It's one of the least fun facts about Deerfield.
But it is good they're
but it's a
changing
fact.
it.
Yeah.
It's good that Deerfield is taking the right approach to changing the name.
Yeah, I think so. Recognize the history.
It's the least they can do. Yeah.
But it's crazy. I didn't realize neither of you lived in Chicago.
No, never.
Post Wow.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
was
it's
long
great.
run.
It's hard to explain if you've never lived there, I guess. For me, it just felt what I what I've a lot of people have said this, so hopefully it's not just like a focus group of one that's saying this, but for me, it felt like people had their college friends and people had their high school friends, and there was like no mixing, and no one really wanted to make new friends. It was just kind of like I have my people,
Hmm.
that's it, and which is fine and cool to a degree. Like I love, you know, keeping up with all of my friends from different walks of life. But what I always wanted to do and tried to do in Chicago, and it just like never really gelled, I feel like, was like introduce, my work friend to my high school friend or my college friend to my,
Meld
work friend or
worlds.
whatever.
Right.
And like here, I feel like I explained a story where I made friends, waiting for my flight, and we genuinely, we get dinner a number of, we've gotten dinner a number of times pre-COVID. But I feel like I've had so many of those experiences here that didn't necessarily happen in Chicago. Like I made a friend on my boyfriend's balcony. Like I was sitting on the balcony, she was sitting on the other balcony, and we like both were, had a glass of wine and just like chatted, exchanged numbers, like became like, we're, gonna get dinner next week. I became very good friends. You asked about like proximity in space. You are literally on top of each other. There's no escaping it. Like Winnie, especially in the winter, will like have so much energy to burn. So she would just like run out into the hallways if I was taking the garbage out. And my building has hallways that are like L-shaped. So I'm at one end of the L. And then, there's a smaller hallway and then a longer hallway. And Winnie would go up and down the L. And then one day she just disappeared into someone's apartment, which I was like, oh God, like I'm just going to walk in and be like, hey, welcome. I'm breaking your quarantine because my wiener dog is just like running rampant. But now I'm very good friends with her. She's an older woman. Her name is Marge. She's lived in my building for almost 50 years. And she leaves her door open for her cat in the hallway because similarly, like her cat just needs room to escape to. And then I also just became friends with another older couple that lives across the hall from me, who also leaves their door open with their cats. But it's like, you just are on top of each other that like you just can't escape each other. So those have been, I don't know. It's like those experiences I feel like I didn't get in Chicago, where I just like made these relationships, with people that lived across the hall or whatever. And it's cool. It's like, it feels cheesy, but it does feel like something you would see in like Friends or a TV show or something.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a good fit for you.
Yeah. You're natural.
Good. I'm
New
really
York
happy.
natural.
That's awesome.
So where was the study abroad that you did?
I was in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, wow. Cool. How long were you there?
Just a semester, 6 months or so.
What was that like? I've never been to Australia.
Yeah, me either. It's on my bucket list.
Awesome. So I, like most people, I feel like, at least from my school, went to Europe when they went abroad because you could go to so many countries and whatever. And in retrospect, I'm like, that would have been a very cool move. Like, I just thought that like your 20s were longer. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have time to go to Europe. And then I'm like, what? Like, I've been to 2 countries in Europe. Like, whatever. My mindset was I wanted to go somewhere where, well, in the Midwest, the winters is the worst. So I wanted to go somewhere ideally warm weather. Australia, I lived on the beach for 6 months. But also it's like so adventurous there. So, I mean, I went to New Zealand and Thailand were the big trips, and then I traveled within Australia, but, it's like bungee jumping. I hiked a glacier in New Zealand. Wow. I went bungee jumping and skydiving in one day, like 24 hours. I did all these things that I was like, I know if I went to Australia or New Zealand or got to these places later in life, I probably wouldn't be doing these adventurous things. So I'll just do them now when I'm in college, like assuming I'll have more time to travel. And then I got a job and I'm like, how do people travel? I don't know. I still make time.
Yeah.
So where's like do you have a favorite trip or a favorite location of all the places you've been?
Well, I recently went to Japan before COVID, not abroad, nothing, but not like study abroad. Mm-hmm. I mean, completely separate, obviously, from any of that. I went to Japan in October of 2019, And it is like hands down my favorite place I've ever been. And I'm dying to go back.
Cool. What cities were you in?
I was in Tokyo and then Kyoto. I was only there for like a week. Like I was not there for a long time, which for that long of a flight is crazy to think about. But I'm kind of someone that's like, I don't really care how long the flight is. Like I just want to go there and I'll have as much time there as I have.
I used to dread them until I realized there was like free wine.
Yeah, long flights can be fun because you're just like...
Oh my God, they're the best. And on the way to Japan, they serve free sake.
Ooh.
So I was like,
ooh, yeah, it's not so bad.
Suck it to me.
Not suck it to me. Yeah, not so bad.
So
but
did you just
then the hangover the next day? You're like, I had ramen for breakfast. Like,
but you're jet lagged anyway. You know, like there's a built-in hangover. So like you just kind of ride it. Yeah, you just lean into it a little bit.
Did you just like feast on amazing sushi and like incredible food?
Yes, I did. And I feel like I pick places I want to travel to based on food mainly.
Honestly, I
that doesn't sound like
I
you,
didn't know if
Kendra.
I was going to bring it up or not, but I was like, what are my memories of Kendra? And I'm like, she always had a very insatiable appetite. Like you could just eat so much food and like you just were always so lean, but like just feasted.
So nothing has changed. I still love food. And yeah, like I literally base my travels. I'm like, what is the best food? Japan, like, of course. So the first day I got there, I landed, I'm trying to think of like what time it was. It's all a blur. I was there for 24 hours by myself. I was with someone I was dating at the time and he like was meeting me there later. Okay. So I had 24 hours on my own, which I like you, Paul, you think you don't know Chicago, like I am directionally challenged. I can't get to like the CVS down the street without opening. And I don't know why I was like, oh yeah, like let me go to Japan.
I'll figure it out.
No one speaks English. Like it's not even the same characters, but yeah, I'll be good. And I just drank like a gallon of sake on my way there.
Right. I'll show up drunk, and then that way the sake will guide me.
I'm drunk. I didn't sleep on the flight because I watched. I was like trying to like align myself with the time zone. So I purposely didn't sleep and I just watched like a full, I really thought this all through. I watched
a clever
full
girl.
Of Fargo.
You watched what?
Sorry? Like, Fargo.
Oh,
so
cool.
Good. It's a TV show.
It is good.
And so I'm just like delirious. And if you've seen that show, it's like heavy. So I'm like delirious, drunk, like hungover, all in one, jet lagged. And I land in this foreign land. I did the first night I like went to a sake bar by myself. I will say everything is like very photo forward. So you're good. You're like, okay, I'm going to point to this. I'm going to order this. Yeah. So the first night I got there, I went to ramen, which you eat in a little booth. I went to, what's it called? I'm blanking on it now. It's a famous ramen place. It was right by where I was staying. And you eat in a little booth. So I ate the ramen by myself, then took myself out for more sake because why not, I guess, when in Rome, or when in Tokyo. Yeah. And then the next morning, what I did not know, like I had actually I do a ton of research. So if you're ever going to Tokyo, let me know. I can send you all my Google Docs. I have lots of recommendations.
That's awesome.
But in all of my research, no one told me that like nothing opens until 11 a.m. Like 11 a.m. is there like 8 or 9 a.m. And in the US, like in New York, especially like at 7 a.m., you can go get a coffee. Like literally nothing is open. So I was so jet lagged. I was up starting at like 5 a.m. I'm in my hotel room. I'm like, I have nothing to eat. I have nothing to do. Like there was no TV because it was like a minimalist, like Japanese hotel room. So I just left my hotel and the only open place was the same place I had ramen the night before. So I had ramen for breakfast at 7 a.m. like twice within 12 hours. And let me tell you, it was just like as good.
Crawling back
nice.
in.
Yeah. They're like, oh, back for more. Huh?
Yeah.
Got the same clothes on from the night before.
You know how they say like American Chinese food and Chinese food are different. Is that the same with Japanese, like American sushi and Japanese cuisine, or is it pretty similar?
Well, sushi, like nothing compares unless, I mean, in LA, there's probably some decent places like that compare, but just the level of freshness is like unbelievable. Like I went to the fish market for breakfast and had sushi for breakfast. And it's just like, you're not getting those like, California rolls that you get in the US that are still delicious, but it's like it's not the same. Tempura, I did go to a full tempura dinner and it's not like tempura in the US. Which I also love because it's deep fried, obviously, but it's super light. So like there's definitely differences, I would say. But the ramen, I will say, like America's gotten ramen done pretty well at this point. Like it's pretty
dialed.
good. But
got it pretty
the best ramen I had was in a train station. Like you just like
I love when that happens. You just never see it coming, like those hole in the wall places.
Yeah, is like that's something I learned when I moved to LA. Like the best food is in like a shitty strip mall or like a food truck. Yeah. Like that's your best option. Is it like that in New York? Yeah. Like the sort of hole in the wall, that's the good shit?
Yes. Well, but so many places in New York, because there's not a lot of space, like are hole in the walls. Like so many restaurants are just teeny because there's everything smushed together. But yeah, those are always kind of my favorite spots in general anyway. So I'm always looking out for those. But yes, I would agree. General rule of thumb in New York or anywhere in the world, those are typically the best.
Cool. And so looking forward, what is the dream for Miss Kendra Huffman?
Ooh.
Oh my God. That's like I don't know.
It's like a deep question. I know I should stall. I need to stall.
I mean, I just want to be happy and healthy. That's like when I make a wish at 11:11, I wish for happiness and healthiness. happy and healthy.
That's great. Wow. Yeah, simple but beautiful.
So we're gonna keep it broad. But yeah, I don't know. Like I hate to say like what my goals are. I don't know. Like as long as I'm happy and healthy, I'm sure I'll be good.
Why do you hate to say what your goals are? What are your goals? There must be something in there. What's your best case scenario?
I mean, best case scenario is like I would love like, a husband and kids one day, but I don't know where that is or when. And I don't like to say goals because I'm like, things change and, it's like, you don't want to plan for something. And if that doesn't happen, then like be disappointed. Cause I think you can still be happy with the end result.
100%.
But like long-term, of course, I would love that. But like, I'm kind of open to wherever it'll be, when it'll be, and I think it's going to work out how it's supposed to.
I agree. I always come back to that too. I'm like, it'll just be the way it's supposed to be, even though it doesn't always feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And my thing is like, if you prioritize happiness first, I feel like then everything else just works out. Like so many people I feel like are like, let me just, be in this job or be in this relationship because they think they're supposed to be. And if they're not happy, then they're achieving a goal. But what's the end point? If you're not happy.
That's a good point. Rooted in all goals is sort of happiness, but it's like, this is the money and the job I want because I think that'll make me happy. But it's really just happiness is just what the goal is.
Yeah. Well, and so many of those things we think we want or whatever, they don't actually lead to that anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're the only person, like we feel so much pressure from society to do all sorts of things, right? And like you get external validation for things like your job and, your partner, your status, whatever it is. But if that's not creating happiness, like you're the only one that's going to know it's off. Mm-hmm. So you just have to stay on it and just really pay attention.
Yeah, I agree. There's some wisdom being thrown around here. Yes. I like it. Yeah, I completely agree. I think maybe this is my problem. I mean, my goal is to be happy, but like I always wrap it in like.
You're a big dreamer.
I'm goal-oriented.
He's got big dreams.
But it's like.
I'm goal-oriented too. I don't want to like discount that. I definitely like.
Well, I think it's kind of like you said, it's almost like a paradox. You have to, at least how I operate. I make a goal and I'm going to try everything I can to get to that goal. If I come up short, like I'm not going to beat myself up. And in fact, like that's great. Because I was pursuing such a difficult goal, I ended up where I ended up versus if I had a smaller goal, maybe I wouldn't have been as far.
And if you miss, you land amongst the stars.
Exactly. And so, Yeah, so, but it's weird. It's like you're gonna try everything and believe in yourself that you're gonna get that goal, but also like maybe you won't, and that's fine too. Like it's very odd. It's a paradox, you know. It's tough.
Yeah. Well, so that's why I think I've changed it to say happy and healthy, because then it's like if that's like what my gold standard is, I'm feeling like I can work. I mean, health I can't control, but to some degree I can.
To some degree, yeah.
That's like kind of why I leave it open-ended. And like if at the end of the day, if I didn't achieve certain things, but I am happy, then like all's well, you know?
I agree.
Completely agree.
Speaking of, and actually this is relevant for this podcast and well, what I think of this podcast with nostalgia. When I was home, I found my 7th grade autobiography.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember writing those?
The 7th grade one.
Arts?
Yeah, we had a partner. Was it part of the zines? Or?
No, that's
No.
different.
Oh, no,
You're thinking
That
of
was
the
different.
zine.
I'm thinking of the zine.
My zine was called Check It Out, and it was about the Czech Republic.
Wow. Mine was,
Nice.
I did mine with Daniel, and we just like reviewed different hot dogs, and it was called The American Hot Dogger. And it was just about hot dogs.
I did one with Jillian, and it was definitely like a cosmopolitan, like teen Vogue kind of thing. And I remember we made a bunch of advertisements.
Why was mine about the Czech Republic?
I don't
I
know.
have no idea. That's funny.
We like did an ad with weights. I remember doing like a weightlifting ad, and then we did a contact ad, like for contact solution.
We got points off because like we put on the cover, we're like, and an interview with the owner of Dear Frank's. Cause like we made the cover first, but we never got around to doing that interview. And so it's not in the zine, but it stayed on the cover. And so there was like points off because
Well, it
Everyone
sold
is so excited
magazines.
about the cover.
yeah,
That's so
we
funny.
tried to lure you in with the cover.
That's rich.
Oh my God.
But
I
what was in
looked-
your,
I looked
oh
through-
yeah, your autobiography.
Oh, it was, well, I laughed and then I was like, maybe this is sad or maybe it's not. I don't know. But it was like predictions for the future. And it was like wife, like housewife, professional dancer, or like fashion executive living in the Chicago suburbs. I'm like, well, I am literally 0 for 3 for all of these things. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to close this. And it was like dream dinner guests. And it must have been season 2 of American Idol because my list was Ruben Studdard,
Oh my
Clay
gosh.
Aiken, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Audrey Hepburn, and then there was Charles Grigsby, who I had to look up, and he was like the 8th person, like the 8th finalist on American Idol season 2.
Oh my God.
I had like a write up, a similar one, and it was about Charlie. It said I was going to marry Charlie, live in Colorado, have 5 kids, and I think it even said it was a doctor or something.
Well, Charlie's,
Which he's in med school
he's in med
now.
school.
So
Oh wow!
yeah.
yeah.
Or he's pre-med or whatever.
Yeah,
He's
I guess
on
that's
his
true.
road. You have a thing on your
Okay, well you were close.
Oh.
That was. Are you guys on TikTok?
Do you fix me?
Christine is a
I
consumer.
started.
I stay out of it.
Okay, well it's pretty funny sometimes.
I agree. Like I don't do
I-
it for the same reason I don't do cocaine. I think I'd love it and like I won't be able to stop.
I
you know?
hated on it so
100%.
much, and now I'm like, I love it.
Now I find myself at 2 a.m. and I'm like, why am I still on here?
Yeah.
But Christine, I should have sent it to like you and Erica, but there's a trend going on and it's like, it's the year 1999 and you just played your friends in MASH. And she's like, do you want to know your results? You're living in a shack. 15 children with like Ben Friedland. Like it's like the most random.
I love how much that all meant to us too. You know what I mean?
And you're like,
we,
damn it, I don't want
I
to
mean,
marry
it
Ben
might as
Friedland.
well have been like scripture. We just took it all so seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
like
know,
the
the
fortune
TikToks
tellers.
kill
Remember
me.
the fortune tellers?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
kids
yeah.
still do
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah, they've got it.
I mean, I
think?
won't remember how to fold that till the end of time. Like
You can
of
still
course.
fold it? Can you fold it?
I never knew. I had
I
to
never
rely
knew
on
either.
friends like Kendra.
Oh,
To me, that was like girl juju.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
girl witchcraft as far as I was concerned. How those things got crafted.
There was like a lot of girl witchcraft, like Cat's Cradle.
hmm
Right.
Bizarre that like we just knew these random things. I'm still doing them right now. Like I can remember the hand movements to like make the saucer.
I know.
Mhm.
It's
You know
so,
what I'm talking about?
I wonder if kids are still doing it. I hope they are. I hope they are.
I
hope so
bet they're
too.
doing the fortune teller. I don't know though. Is that? I mean, it feels so like archaic. Like that's not an app. That's like rolling the hoop
I
down the
know.
road. You know, with like your stick. You know, it's like hoop and stick.
I know. That's what we did. I mean, like we used to just like build forts in Erica's basement. Like that's truly all we did.
Yeah.
And then we'd play with the fortune teller. You know, I mean, go to the pool. Like, what do we do as kids?
Now so much time at the pool.
So much time at the pool, and then I made it my career for 8 years.
Just being a lifeguard at the pool.
And then I was the pool manager.
Wow, you ran that pool.
I did run the pool. Best job ever. I was so tan.
You were always
It was
10. It was because of the job. And I bet you had free access to all those nachos and popsicles that you wanted.
No, I didn't. That was my goal.
Rude.
And I didn't.
You were like working up your system. Pay me in
"I run
popsicles.
this." Yeah, no, they wouldn't let us get a discount. It was like such bullshit. Sometimes El Forno's would on a Sunday night when they did the pizza in the park. But yeah.
Oh, I would kill for an El Forno's pizza.
Forno, huh?
Thin crust little pizza now.
Well done. Oh yeah, it's so good.
Being a Chicagoan, how do you like
What?
that New York pizza?
Oh, love.
It's amazing. I love New York pizza.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
don't-
what's not to love? It's just like a big
Perfect.
slice of, it's basically like a big slice of El Forno's, which
Right.
is like,
Yeah, El Forno is basically New York pizza. Yeah, we didn't
it's
know it
like-
at the time.
True to New York form, it's just so portable.
Right.
You know, it's just like you grab it,
So
you
do you
go.
prefer the thin New York or the thick Chicago?
oh, I hate, okay, this question I hate because it's like, I could never.
Divisive,
just
Paul.
Use, it's a pizza. Okay, nothing is better than a hungover Lou Malnati's order when you are just like, I want this to sit in my stomach like a brick for like 2 days at least. Like I'm getting a Lou. I might dip it in ranch. I might go crazy.
Whoa.
Or like a slice of New York pizza is incredible too. Like I'm never choosing. There's different use cases for both. There's different use cases. I do have a Lou Malnati's in my freezer.
Oh, we've never done the Lou Malnati's frozen order. So they send it to you frozen, right?
Yes, I got it as a gift. I wouldn't have ordered myself. I think Erica orders like a decent amount.
I think she does. I think you're right about that.
Sounds about right.
But I typically, like when I go home, my parents will order Lou's like one of the nights.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a rite of passage.
Dude, when
for
I'm
any
home,
homecoming.
it's just Lou's and beer. It's like
my God.
my diet
Same.
is so totally different when I'm home.
Same. And I didn't remember, like, I mean, we've discussed, had a big appetite, but like I didn't realize just how Midwest food is until like every time I've gone home recently, it's like this past weekend I had Lou Malnati's. I went to Parsons in Chicago, which is just fried chicken. And it was like, I guess I'll have some salad. It's like all cheese and Caesar. Like everything is just so much, I don't know, food and fried. Like I feel like I can't eat for like 3 days.
So funny. My friend from Arizona was moving to Indianapolis and she's like, I was born to eat like a Midwesterner. Like I live for casseroles. Like, but it's just, everything is so cheesy. Like it really is. It's just
heavy.
like, it's like meat and
There's a
potatoes kind of vibe, you know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, you get to California and it's like California fresh. Like everything's like
Oh my God,
whimsical,
yeah.
you know, it's like light, not everything, but I mean,
but
the
you're right.
health food craze is definitely bigger out here.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I just feel like the weather like encourages you to eat healthier.
And like
You're not
eat
like-
fresh produce all year too is a little bit different.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Do you guys think you're going to stay out there for good?
I don't know about LA. No, not even California necessarily. Like we're in LA now. My job is here. I love it here. Christine moved here. But I don't know. I mean, we wouldn't want to raise kids here, and you know, it's like it's so expensive to live here. So
Yeah, it's
I
like,
think
how do you even,
our
you
time-
can't even own a home.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
our days are numbered in LA. And we look at going back to Tucson or somewhere like Santa Fe or even San Diego. But I think
Diego.
LA is for sure not permanent. We can at least most days
I'll second that. Yeah.
yeah, we can agree on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
it
do
is
love it.
crazy.
I've been out here for a while. I do really like LA. Christine moved here mid-pandemic she's only known quarantine LA, and it's like I keep,
Yeah.
I'm like, it is cool. It is a cool place. It is fun.
To be in quarantine, like that's like ideal. There's so much
There's
to do
certain
outside.
things. Yeah,
That's
there's
true.
There's definitely some pros.
I guess California is extremely locked down, but I just purely mean from like access to outside.
No, there are hikes
There's
and
no
stuff,
doubt.
and that was always happening. But
I've
like my
certainly
favorite
gotten
things are
hooked
like
to the ocean trips. Like it's so nice, to dart to Malibu and like be on a beach and have pretty much like no one there. Like it's really nice,
Yeah.
but I don't know. There's a feeling I don't get here. Like I just don't feel at home here, and maybe that'll change eventually. But I don't know. I'm not like counting on it necessarily. I like really need space outside and you're totally right that there are like destinations here, but I don't know. I crave like more space, more yard, more like
More spread
tied
out.
to the wilderness kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And I could see how you like don't feel roots necessarily in LA, because I feel like a lot of people are just transient. Like there's so many
I think
people
so.
definitely
Like I
and
don't
not a lot
know.
of people from LA that live there, I feel like.
very
Yeah,
few.
I'm not really sure like where to find community here. Like in Tucson,
Yeah.
obviously I started with college, and so that's like a great unifier and gives you sort of like a trajectory or path to follow. But like I still found other things early on, like a weekly farmers market that I just really like, little things that I just kind of found these little niches here and there. So, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that I'll find things, there's certainly things I would love to play like beach volleyball or like join a soccer team or, do things that'll kind of give me some roots, but it just is still like a little too soon for all that. So
Yeah, I
We'll
get
see.
that. Yeah, that's what's always crazy to me about LA is like you can be in the car on a commute for like an hour.
Yeah, it's
Going,
very
like,
common.
miles.
Yeah, it's super common. And like if I go to if I'm in Chicago or in the suburbs, I'm like, come visit. It's like, dude, that's like 40 minutes I got to drive to come. It's like you got to drive 40 minutes to get to the
Anywhere.
grocery
Right.
store
Yeah.
here. Like things
Right.
just take time.
That-
but
yeah,
it's different.
That's nuts. It's so I would say like Chicago is a good middle ground between LA and New York.
Hmm.
I feel like culture wise in that way. Which is interesting.
Are you a bodega girl? Do you have a
Wait,
bodega
I got to pee
you
super
go to
bad.
all the
Excuse me.
time?
I'm sorry. I'll be back.
With like
Go
a
ahead.
cat in it. Every bodega needs a cat.
Yes. Well, and so I had a bodega that I loved. I loved the owners. They were so sweet. And I could bring Lenny in. So like whenever I was out of something, I was walking her, I could just go grab it. And they were across the street forever, apparently, but I've only lived here for 2 years. And they closed in COVID.
Oh
They couldn't
no.
pay rent. Yeah. And I just feel so sad because I couldn't say bye to the owners. Like one day it just closed. So I don't know what happened to them. And now I unfortunately don't have I have a bodega, like it's still pretty close, but it's not like across the street. So I'm in the market for a new one. But yeah, that's been the saddest thing about the past year is just seeing like all these storefronts close and restaurants close.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like again, in LA, I don't really like know restaurants or whatever,
Yeah.
so I'm not like quite seeing it as much. But in Tucson, I worked with like a lot of small businesses, and it's just a smaller town, and so I see it all the time, and like I don't know,
Yeah.
just it's horrible. It's been so bad for the restaurants and.
I know, but I do think like this summer, earlier this week, I was like, I'm not used to this like post-vaccination life, like where you can't just say no to things. I mean, it's still so early, but I am fully vaccinated. So it's like things are starting again here and I'm not used to it.
Right.
Social.
It's game on. I know.
I
Somebody
know.
I saw a meme of it, and it's like I'm about to have to cash in on all these declined invites. Like all these promises are coming for me, right?
Right, but
It's
after
like,
the pandemic, then we'll hang. Like
Yeah.
soon. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
no more excuses.
it's true.
After the pandemic, then we'll hang. It's so funny. Yeah, no, I know it's sneaking up. Now it's game on. You gotta put your best, face on and revisit the world.
Yeah, it's like
I know,
I don't
get
know
out
if-
of the sweatpants. It's rough. It's
I'm-
kind of
I'm wearing them
rough.
right now. I don't know if you guys talked about this, but like the social stamina is like lost. Like we spent the
Mine's very
weekend
diminished.
with my family in San Diego. It would be like 9 p.m. and like a voice inside of me is like, I just want to go, like, I just want to sit on the couch and watch a movie. You know, like I'm tired, like of just talking to people and like being around people. It's like, just my social stamina is so
And
weak.
I was at like the height of awkwardness during all this. Cause like, you know, I did move in with Paul during this, but like before that you're alone and like, you're just reading really morbid news all the time. And like the stress levels were physically like, I had a very like, I couldn't stop reading the news. It was sort of like that train wreck thing. You just couldn't stop watching and it wasn't good for my mental state. And I'm like always on edge. And it's like, I felt like I was so socially awkward. So it takes some time. It's like, do you shake hands now when you meet somebody new? Like,
well, you know what?
I don't know.
The one thing that you didn't have to live through in COVID is like going on dates.
True.
With a mask.
Yeah.
So walk home, you're like okay.
Like, let me get a look at you. Come on, just let me see the.
Just pull it up.
It's so awkward, and then you're only going on dates outdoors, obviously, but. Yeah, and then you're wearing a mask. You can't.
Yeah, what if you're like really, really turned on or off by like teeth or lips? You know?
Yeah,
and then you just can't even
not
see
seeing someone's mouth. And like, what if they're wearing glasses too? Like you're not even seeing their face. You know,
it's like something that I hope no one has to deal with ever again. It's just so uncomfortable on so many levels. Like when you show up to the date, you're like fist or like elbow. Like, hey, nice to meet you off the internet at this outdoor restaurant that we have 1 hour till the curfew comes. Like, it's just so bizarre. And then you don't even see each other.
Did you guys like Zoom before you decided to meet up or no? Okay.
I was not about to.
I've just noticed those commercials, like all the eHarmony and everybody's Match is like doing these like virtual dates. And I'm like, is that really how people are choosing to date? Because I've heard more so people are like just meeting up outside, taking, wearing their masks.
I think so. I have a lot of friends. Like I have one friend who met her boyfriend of now it's been over a year because they started dating right in March, but they met on Zoom, I think. Or FaceTimes, and she was staying at her parents, quarantining at her parents. And I was like, you were doing FaceTime dates at your parents? She's like, I would bring a bottle of wine to my childhood bedroom and be like,
oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
that's rich.
Sounds like my worst nightmare. But no, when I was going on dates, it was after the summer. Like I would say the summer in general, people were relatively social, but safe. Like you kind of had your like circle of friends and you would do things outside, like go to a park, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This was probably in the fall that I like started going on dates, and it was similar. Like you could go meet someone for a drink outdoors, and it was like, okay, I wasn't seeing family anytime soon. And I wasn't, aside from those, like seeing anyone. So I was, I felt fine about it. And like, you could be fine and safe and not like, but had I in the height of it, like in March or April, I'm sure I would have been on FaceTime Zooms, or FaceTime,
Yeah,
dates,
it definitely had like there was so much more unknown early on that made it like the fear even more intense for sure.
Absolutely.
Once restaurants started opening up, I feel like people like were able to, see.
So with your boyfriend, how many dates in until the mask came off? Or was that late enough that the mask was off date one?
That's a very personal question.
Well, okay.
Yeah, when did you guys show your naked faces to each other?
I mean, the first date, you get drinks with people. You just like when you show up.
Okay. Right.
I didn't know if you did like your first date sitting in the park, and you're like, oh, the mask is
No,
on.
I mean, I did. There were some like based on other people's comfort level. Like you might, like I had a donut date where I just got donuts with someone. Donuts with someone and like ate them at a distance. And I was like, this is probably my low point that I'm just like eating.
At least it came with donuts.
At least it's a delicious low point. Yeah.
Half dozen donuts 6 feet away from someone.
You're like, are you gonna eat that jelly there? Let me.
Box
like,
for
I'm
each
just
of us.
back up because I'm gonna reach. I'm gonna reach for it.
Yeah, munchkins are out of the question at that point.
Yeah,
You can only do
all
the
these
salt.
shareable
You
things.
can't just share.
And too many hands in that box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. So the mask, like you would meet people for drinks or food,
Okay,
whatever, but you couldn't like the initial meeting. You're like, oh, greetings. Like, what do you do?
Right.
And then the walk home, where typically on a date you might have a smooch. You got a mask on.
Mm-hmm. It's quite the buzzkill.
Yeah. Wait, without a mask on, a smooch.
No, well, if you're walking home at the end of the night, you might plan to kiss on somebody. You can't just go for it if you're masked up walking home.
Right.
On like a second date or whatever. I mean, typically, you know if you're gonna have a smooch at the end of a date, but like in COVID, it's just like.
Right. It can be. It's less spontaneous and sort of like magical
really.
because there's preparation.
It has to be like
involved.
really.
You're like, have you had any symptoms
Contrived.
in the past 14 days or been exposed?
Yeah. Let me
you
just take
just,
your temperature real
fill
quick.
this-
Hold still.
Fill out this brief questionnaire.
My building does that. My building takes temperatures of people when they come in.
Oh wow,
So, yeah. So that
Wow.
could happen.
that's cool. New York was kind of on it in a lot of ways like that.
Well, that we had to be because we were.
There's no other
the-
choice.
You were the
Yeah.
epicenter.
Yeah, I live across the street from a hospital too, which was crazy. And at 7 p.m., everyone used to clap outside, which like seems like another world that like we did that, but it was pretty cool. Like everyone was like hanging out their windows with pots and pans.
That was just like a
Clapping.
gesture of unity kind of thing.
Yeah, for the healthcare workers at the
Oh,
hospital.
nice.
So
That's
they would
so
stand
cool.
outside and like wave. It was pretty cool.
Aw.
That is super cool. Wow.
I know there's a lot of like heartwarming things about,
Yeah.
things, people coming together. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that'll define our lifetimes. Like we'll always remember this and we'll always talk about it. Like our kids, our grandkids will want to know about this
Sure.
period of time.
It's like
I
your
know.
grandparents
I
being like,
kinda
I was
think-
alive in the Depression, and it was
Yeah.
hard. Like we'll be saying the same
My
shit
grandpa
about quarantine.
used to be like, I ate cabbage soup and potatoes. Like,
Yeah.
I heard that growing up, and now I'm gonna be like, I drank 4 bottles of wine and
Yeah, we got drunk and watched Tiger King. It was rough.
yeah,
Like you don't know how good you got it.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Oh my god, I do wish I like something I regret is that I didn't journal like early on when all of this was happening. I was actually listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was. And they were saying like one of the people on it was like, I actually started journaling, and it was like the week where everything was like every day, like something major happened.
Mhm.
Tom Hanks got it. NBA was canceled, like all those
Uh-huh.
things. And I was like, oh, wow, that would have been a really good idea because, in 20 years from now, it would have been so interesting to go through what your thoughts were.
Yeah.
Because they were
Mhm.
so wild. Like, I wish I could go back on what my thoughts were now at
Right.
that point in time.
Right.
Well, I know there was a lot of people who bettered themselves in quarantine, and I often wish I was one of them.
Bettered themselves?
Yeah.
Get out of
it's
here.
just like-
You bettered yourself.
I mean, I'm teasing myself a little bit, but those people that are like, yeah, I just finally learned embroidery, or like they just like really taught
Sure.
themselves some new skill,
Yeah.
or like journaled daily, and
Yeah.
like illustrated daily, whatever it was. Just
Yeah. But
some
you
people
did.
want it.
It seems like you've
mean,
been
I-
really creative. You started
Yes.
a podcast.
Yes, I bettered myself with a podcast.
She's a singer now too.
Oh,
you don't
LA.
even know, but she's a
Okay.
singer
I did
now.
move to
also,
LA and
and
now
she
I-
moved to LA. She moved to LA to become a singer and a podcaster. And
Oh
this
my
girl
god,
over
that
here
is the
actually
most
likes to do
LA.
shit.
Here I am rejecting LA. I'm just rejecting myself. I'm so LA when you put it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Oh my God, you're looking for a farmer's market. You are.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You're
Wow.
doing LA.
Wow, I'm oozing it out
Look
of
at,
me.
you're drinking Tecate out of
Oh.
a mason jar
Oh my
right now.
gosh, I never saw this coming.
You are.
You're
Someone called me a
bleeding
hipster
from
once, and I was
moonlight.
like, I'm not a hipster. And they're like, Paul,
I think that was
you're
me.
drinking a PBR. You got a hat. You got a beanie on. Like you're a hipster. Yeah. It was
No,
you.
it was you.
you.
were like making music. It was like you didn't even know how hip you were.
Yeah. You were like you're like making music with like some weird auto harp that you bought at a
Yeah,
thrift
it's
store.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine, fair. But
Fine.
I actually wouldn't have like thought of you as a hipster, but I guess you like kind of are. You're like the
Ooh.
original.
Maybe I'm the original. I'll take that. But I don't like teams. You know, I don't want to be.
You don't like categories or titles so much.
If you can fit me in a category like that, then I feel like I'm not being
No,
myself. You know.
Yeah, no, you're not. I don't think I can fit you in a category. I guess.
Thank you, Kendra. That's so kind.
You're welcome.
Honestly.
No problem.
I love that.
You're just an oddball. You just don't belong anywhere.
I'm an oddball. That's all I've ever wanted to be.
Aren't we all? You know?
We are.
That's the goal in life. When you ask me my goal, it's I want to be healthy, happy, and an oddball.
Yeah,
just
lean
not
into
normal.
it.
You just don't want to be normal. Like I mean, whatever. Now I'm just talking about myself. But I just never wanted to be like normal and live this boring, like straight path life, you know, like you got to kind of throw these.
Yeah, well, I feel like
curves.
you've succeeded at that since we were young. You were never.
I wonder if it's like a female thing, this need to like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like a need to fit in, so to speak, or
I
like.
don't think it's a female thing.
Yeah, that's probably too simple, but I don't know. Just like the need.
Well, I don't think the need to fit in is a female thing. I think that's just a human thing. But I think there is a biological thing with women where it's like whether you want it or not, there's like a mother instinct, of course. And so I think at like a certain age that just like comes into play. But it's interesting because I feel like our age group, like everything is happening later. Like my parents were married and they were 23 and like had 2 kids by my age.
Yeah, same.
And I was 30 and I was like, should I get a dog? Like,
am I ready for this?
Can I do that?
So I don't know. I feel like it's not like fitting in, but like following a certain path. I feel like women almost have it inherently a little bit because of like that biological.
It's a good point.
That goes on.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like not to fit in so much, but like to stay inside the lines. Like that's like a new thing for me to sort of be like kind of surrendering and just being like, you know what, fuck it. Like it doesn't, you know, so that's what my future goals is to be like less apologetic about myself.
I will give you that. It is, at least in society, the way society is, like, it is more appropriate for a man to sort of go against the grain and be like a maverick, you know, that's what we call him. We'd call him a maverick, whereas like a girl would be crazy or like, you know, something else. So like, I agree there is that. But I think, I guess all I was trying to say before, like a lot of men also feel this like need to fit in, need to kind of be like normal or something like that. But you're right. I think the unapologeticness, we admire it in men and we generally do not in women or haven't
I
or in the
agree
past.
With that. And I actually even would like push the envelope and say, even people that are like, no, I would support a woman if she doesn't follow or if she doesn't follow the standard path. Like, I feel like there's sometimes like, at least I've experienced it because, you know, most of my friends are married, have babies, and that's totally fine living in the suburbs. And like, I am like, just kind of took a fork in the road, I feel like, when all of them started doing that. And sometimes I feel like I get backhanded comments being like, oh, well, like, are you going to settle down soon? Are you going to come home to Chicago? And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm figuring it out.
Maybe,
like, I'm doing whatever.
Not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I do think even though people are like, oh, it's great, you're doing your own thing. Like, so there's always like a little bit of that.
They're like, it's great, you're doing your own thing and you don't care what the consequences are. You know, it's like,
you're like, oh, fuck you.
You're doing your own thing. And you don't care what everybody thinks, you know, like it's great. You don't care what everyone's saying about you behind your back.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And that's the theme of that. I feel like I've noticed more and just like, as I turned 30, I feel like 30s are like, oh shit. Now everyone's like expecting you to like do something as an adult.
But it goes back to that thing though, like happiness is the best revenge, right? Like you're the only person that has to live with the choices you make. And so like, regardless of however anything looks or comes off to anybody else, like that's all that matters is just when your barometer really recognizes yourself as being happy, you know?
Very well put.
Yeah.
I agree.
Fuck yeah.
Your own barometer.
Your own little
Follow
barometer.
your own barometer and stay happy.
Follow your own barometer.
Take readings often, Just check in often.
You get a tattooed there, yeah.
Yeah. Does that make me a hipster? I'm following my own barometer.
Probably, but
it might. Especially if you get it behind the ear or something, like, oh, that's my barometer.
I
follow
always
my barometer.
wanted a tattoo back there.
I mean, tattoos are cool. They're cool no matter where you get them. But,
I thought I was so clever. I was like, I want sweet nothings back there. So then if anyone ever finds it, they'll be whispering me sweet nothings.
It's kind of cool.
Like, why did I even
do that?
think like that? No.
Well, then it's
That's
original.
like a walk to remember.
It probably is. I watched it or something. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, then it's not so original.
Like something with like a tattoo. He puts it. Oh no, I know what it is. It's not whispering sweet nothings. She wanted a tattoo, and he gives her a temporary one, and then he like whispers it. But then
that's probably where it was born.
Probably.
What?
That was probably where that like fantasy was born.
I think I also saw that movie with you in theaters.
Oh God, that was like a Waterworks movie. That was very influential in my like romantic development for sure.
It was very influential. I mean, we were obsessed with it. Shane West. Gosh, where are you now?
He really fell off the scene. What's up, Shane West? Come on. Where are you?
He was in a band. Ooh. He was in some sort of band, I think. Oh. I don't think they were very good, but maybe he's following his own barometer.
Shane West, he tapped into his barometer and
he got out of Hollywood. It wasn't for him.
Yeah,
and Mandy Moore, she's
good
around.
For you, Shane West.
She's around.
Mandy
she's
Moore
so
is
successful.
Around. She's doing well. She was in This Is Us.
Yeah, she's killing it right now. Yeah.
She's been like
I had like all of the Walk to Remember songs on like a burnt CD with like my little janky handwriting, like writing what the whole album was. Like I think it's still in my car, and every song like skips like huge chunks and chunks. It's just been so over listened to, but.
What I was when you said they're still in your car, my sister is driving my mom's old car that I drove in high school, and she's like, "There's still your CDs in here." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Like, I can't bring myself to throw them away.
What?
I can't bring myself to throw those ones away. It's like they don't even work, but they're like this beautiful relic. Yeah.
You should keep them somewhere. It'll be cool to show.
They timestamp your life like so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. When I was listening to the episode that you guys did with Jordan, I remember you were like, people used to like bring you their iPods. I remember the day I got my iPod Color. I brought it to him and Daniel, and it was like I was the coolest I've ever been for like those 3 months that like those songs were on my iPod.
Those two people, Jordan and Daniel, probably showed me more music than almost anyone, maybe than anyone I've ever known. Yeah, like they just had all of it. They had all the goods.
Yeah, and I would just give them my iPod, and I was so much cooler because I was listening to cooler music. And now I'm like, I don't know how to find anything.
I know. Finding music is hard. I'm trying to think of how I used to do it. Like, I guess there's a lot of playlists I like. Like, I'll find an artist that I like, and then I'll say like, play this playlist, and it'll lead me to similar things. But
similar.
I don't know how I used to seek in for music.
I heard, and I'm going to butcher this. Like, I'm not going to say this as eloquently as it should be said, but Spotify, Paul, you probably know this better than anyone, but like Spotify, I guess now works with labels so that because people aren't just buying traditional, CDs or albums anymore, that part of their deal with the signing labels that they're getting prioritized in how Spotify makes playlists.
Oh, interesting.
Have you heard this?
Well,
makes sense.
I haven't heard that specifically, but I believe it. I mean, there's a lot of weight put into these Spotify playlists because that is like your way to become discovered these days for a lot of people. So it would make sense to me that if labels have relationships with Spotify. So like I can reach out if I knew someone at Spotify and they loved me and they loved my music, like maybe they'd be like, okay, cool. I'll try and get you in a playlist, but as a label, you have all this sort of clout. And so, I believe it. If labels have relationships with Spotify people to be like, can you help us push our artists? That makes sense to me. Like they are definitely operating that way. It's a different world. I mean, I don't know everything. That That's all I know. I don't know much about Spotify and the game, but
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know anything. I'm just.
you work for
shelling my
Snapchat, you know something.
And whoever will take it. No, but I have read this on my like celebrity gossip Instagram that I follow, Demois, which if you're looking for like just interesting nothing news, follow. It's really funny, or it's really interesting. But they were saying because that Olivia Rodrigo girl, she had that driver's license song that like was everywhere. It started on TikTok, I guess, and now is on Spotify, like on every Discover playlist. And then it was like the most popular song in the US or something. I don't know. And everyone was confused how it got so popular. But then this Instagram had posted like an anonymous tip saying Spotify's working with the labels, I guess, to do this, which is cool. It's interesting that they're like solving for a changing landscape, but also like kind of annoying. Cause I'm like, this is like, how are you organically supposed to discover any music if they're like secretly.
There is a lot of that. We were actually talking about this yesterday with my buddy JC, but like a big move with like labels, they'll sort of kind of soft launch, secretly kind of back an artist so that you feel like you've discovered them organically, but they've actually sort of done everything in their power to get them in front of you and kind of have this organic experience, you know, and like, but what's cool is that kids are so savvy now. They see through it. They call it out like right away. They'll be like, this is a label plant or whatever, like whatever the term is they use. But like, you can tell, you know, and like, that's the cool thing. Kids are still so savvy that true authenticity, like you can't beat that. Like it will always prevail, you know, and like,
it's interesting.
Kids these days.
The kids, they're so smart. They're also smart.
There's like, I'm obsessed with 30 Rock. That was one of the shows I actually rewatched in quarantine. And Tina Fey's character is so funny. And she's like terrified of the youth. Like she's always like, cross the street, it's the youth. Like runs away. That's how I feel now. And I'm like, oh my God, teenagers. Like, oh. No.
Yeah. When I see a bunch of teenage boys, I'm like, please don't beat me up. You know, like, because they could. I mean, two teenage boys could beat me up easily. You know?
I don't know. Like, have you seen a teenager lately? Like, I was in the suburbs driving past New Trier, and it was like school had just gotten out, and I'm like, these are shrimps. Like, is this something?
Isn't it funny?
Maybe you could take them, but I could.
We feel like when you're 16, you feel so old, so mature, so wise. And then you look at them and they're like baby faces. Even when you go to like a college campus, you're like, are you serious?
Oh my God. Like, so also just to sound more like a basic bitch, I'm rewatching the OC in quarantine.
Yeah.
Nice.
I rewatched everything. I think I've watched all of Netflix. Like it goes to the end and it's like, you're done.
I get
that
memo
thing on Instagram,
every day.
like you're all caught up. Like you've seen it all.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm like, let's just take it back to the roots. Like Seth Cohen, just give me what I need.
Were you a Seth girl or a Ryan?
A Seth. Oh my God. I thought I was Summer Roberts. I'm like, this is it. Like, if you ask me my goal, what's the goal for Kendra Huffman? It's find Seth Cohen. Like, that's it. But I'm rewatching it and I'm flying through it. And they actually just launched a podcast. Rachel Bilson and the girl Melinda Clark, who played Julie Cooper, just launched like a rewatch podcast. And rewatching it, I'm like, this is such a mindfuck because I was like, it came out when we were in 8th grade and went through our high school, years. But the actors were all like in their mid 20s, except for Misha Barton that played the high schoolers. So I'm like, these people are only a few years younger than me, but they're playing like 16, a decade, 15 years younger than me. And then Julie Cooper, who was supposed to be their mom, was only 33 at the time that she filmed the show. So now I'm like, who am I? Am I a teenager? Am I 40 years old? Like, I'm like, it blows my mind. It makes me feel really uncomfortable. Like, I can't get my mind around the mindfuck that is this like time warp.
It's kind of like that with almost every high school portrayal. And it's really weird. Like you would think, I mean, I understand there aren't as many talented high schoolers available to act, but you would think that they could.
It's always like a 25-year-old playing a 16-year-old. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Oh, weren't you almost in School of Rock?
Oh my God, is that true?
No, I mean,
was that a rumor?
It was.
You
It was.
told me that.
That's fake
I-
news.
Here's how almost.
You told her that?
I did. I mean, I pushed this. I pushed it. You know,
Wow.
I pushed it through the rumor mill.
The
But
kid from Highland Park got it, didn't he?
right, I didn't even go to the audition. I mean, all that happened was there was
I
an
thought you
ad
were,
in
like,
the
in the final
paper.
round.
There was an ad in the paper for this role, and it was like brown hair and a certain age, and I had blonde hair and I was older. So it was just considered, that's not the one. And I was a drummer, like I fit it, but I was too old and I was too blonde. But then the kid who got it was older than me and blonder than me. And so
Yeah.
I took that as I would have been that guy had I gone to the audition.
Okay.
And then I told
This
everybody,
goes.
I was this close. I was this close.
Okay, because like this whole time, I feel like if someone on the street in New York is like, "Do you know Paul Brisky?" I was like, "Yeah." Do you know he was almost a drummer at School of Rock? Like that's like
I want that to show up in some like
Bio.
like my Wikipedia page, like almost very close, very close. Was considered
Wikipedia is
for.
editable. So like I will go on there and
Yeah.
you say that word, and you're gonna have a Wikipedia page that says you were almost
Please
the drummer. You turned down the role of drummer in School of Rock.
turned it down. Yeah.
It's too.
They were
Too
begging.
busy.
They were begging me.
Too
That was
busy,
back
too blonde.
when you could make up anything. Like, remember, we didn't bring this up with Parker, but everyone thought Parker's uncle was Bill Gates.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And I don't know if he
Yes, I
started it
do.
or someone else started it. Maybe he
Parker
just had a
used to
bigger
lie a
TV
lot.
than everybody.
Parker.
But like,
So, okay, Parker like used to say those things. Because he sat next to me in elementary school. Like, also, this sounds bizarre, and I think I used to say this to Parker's face, but he used to have a mushroom cut. He was one of the famous mushroom cuts, like along with Matt and and he would gel it. Do you know what I mean?
uh-huh.
And it had this like, specific smell, and I can still smell his hair gel
Wow.
from Will.
Oh,
And
man,
I
less is
think
more.
I told him it smelled bad. I mean, it smelled, I think, as an adult, it probably would smell fine. But like as a kid, I was like, ew.
And he would always dye
Yeah.
his hair. He was like, and it was like, he was like the
I love
Osbournes.
him.
He was like Jack Osbourne.
Yes.
But yeah,
He
we
was.
thought his uncle was Bill Gates. I would lie. I think I would lie a lot when I was a kid. When I dated Alyssa, like
Alyssa,
she would. I was like, it was this like superficial relationship, like I was like afraid to even really talk to her, but it was like, okay, like we're boyfriend and girlfriend. But she'd be like, can you want to hang out today or something? I'd be like, I got football practice, And I would always say, that was always my excuse. Like, I got football practice, so I can't.
Okay.
But I was on,
you were in the marching band.
I was on this is in second grade. I was on no football team. This was like, I just had to go home and play football with my neighbor, but I would just lie. Like, I don't know, like kids lie. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, okay, she got sensitive about this in fourth grade. I hope she would laugh about this now. But do you remember when Jillian said she met Britney Spears?
Oh yeah, dude. We brought that up to her. She has the picture.
She has it.
And
It's
she
a
would like
cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
You'd be
told
like,
us the
Jillian,
real
let me
version.
see it. Let me see it.
She's like, look, there it is.
She's
That's
like-
it.
Like,
Okay, well, so for people listening, I got to make sure Jillian's okay before I post this. But she went to a Britney Spears show
Oh my gosh.
and she took a picture with a Britney Spears cutout and came back and told everybody, I met Britney Spears. And she had this photo, and then everyone would be like, let me see it. She'd be like, look, that's it. And they'd be like, what? Hold, like, let me see it again. Like, what? There you go. That's it. And say, but I think recently she sent us the photo.
Yeah.
I think we've seen,
oh,
I
really?
think we have the photo,
Okay,
yeah.
so she'll be a good sport. Like,
Yeah.
I like
No,
wouldn't want to say that.
Erica brings it up all the time.
Yeah, we
All the
talk
time.
about it.
It's well
so
discussed.
funny. Oh, man, there's like
Oh my
these are the
God.
kinds of things that I feel like I need to start supplementing our social media page with, like the casual mentions throughout the episode. Like I've just
Yes,
got to like
like-
put the picture up so people can reference
Yes.
it. Like we
Yeah.
need the
100%.
behind the scenes kind of inside scoop for our
Cliff notes, yeah,
Yeah.
the
There's so much.
the
Oh
bibliography
my God.
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. EasyBib.com.
Yeah.
Put that up.
exactly.
Ugh,
Oh my God.
bibliographies. Remember that
Wait,
bullshit?
Christine, you
Yes.
know what I was recently thinking of? And this is like this is probably boring to anyone listening, But do you remember the scary house that was next to my house? The
Yes.
abandoned house?
I do. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and it's no longer there. But there, like the night before Springfield, I think you slept over and we were playing video games and we like
Eating
decided to
bags
walk
of Jolly
over to the house.
Ranchers.
Yes, eating bags of Jolly Ranchers. And do you remember we like walked to the house
I
and
do
there
remember
was a
this.
knock from inside?
Yeah. I totally remember that. We jumped like 4
Okay.
feet in the air.
Yes, we jumped and like ran home crying like to
Mhm.
my parents. And until the house got knocked down, like probably a year ago, I was like, I believe in ghosts. There's no other explanation. Like there was a ghost, it knocked for Christine.
heard
and I,
it.
like I would tell people this in my adulthood, being like, well, let me explain the story.
I have
Like,
had an experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the house got knocked down, and my dad was like, people were selling drugs out of that thing for years. And I'm like, what? Like, so there was definitely probably someone in the garage that was like selling drugs.
It was
and
a
heard
trap
these two-
house. You grew up next to a trap house. We all thought it was a haunted house.
I mean, I don't think it was a trap. I think that like it was an empty space that you could get in. Kids used to like climb in all the time and do things, but then it got like unsafe. But I think, sketchy people probably would do things, sell things there.
God. Yeah,
And
I
we just,
definitely
like,
remember that.
Yeah.
I still believe in ghosts, really.
Hmm.
It's like
I
I had a
mean,
lot of
same.
I had a lot of experiences in my formative years like that made me believe.
And your grandpa saw a UFO. I remember that
Oh my
story.
gosh, your memory is impeccable. That's
It is.
true. I wonder if it'll like come out in the new files in June. You know that the government's like releasing all of their UFO
Oh, they
information.
are?
Yeah.
They have to.
Oh my God.
They snuck it into the
I fully
COVID
believe in all
bill.
that.
The COVID relief bill. You know how people like attach things to bills, So it's like COVID relief bill. Like who's going to turn that down? And they put in the bill, the CIA or whoever has to release all their UFO intel by June
Yeah,
2021
like
this
so
year.
basically we're about to get the whole scoop and I'm wondering I mean
Isn't that crazy?
for the listeners,
Wow.
it was basically my uncle was in the Air Force. I think he was actually stationed in Tucson and he was like
Circle.
I know, isn't that kind of strange? He was grounded and it wasn't him like flying, but he was just sitting and like listening to the radio as a couple other flights got called to like go chase this unidentified object. And they like chased it for a little while in the desert and it disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, we may get the truth soon.
I
Truth
know.
is out
Oh my gosh. I mean, how could we possibly be alone in the universe? Like the universe is so beyond
Massive.
our wildest imaginations. Like we can't comprehend the size and scale of this place,
Yeah.
right? Like of course we're not alone.
there. I agree.
I think
No,
like
of course
like
not.
the
You know what I
ingredients for
also
life,
think
they
about?
exist other places. Like there's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
There's 100% life, but you know what I think about often, and I like am just braced for the disappointment, is like when they find a spider on another planet, that's going to be an alien,
Right.
or even like
I
a
always knew they
microorganism.
were aliens.
Right. So it's like, oh, this is an alien. We found alien life on Mars, but it's microbiotic and it's just like a little
Yeah, it's
bacteria.
gonna be so lame. It's like, no, I want like a pen pal that's on.
Yeah.
Right.
With like one eye
Yeah.
and 12 arms.
Yeah.
Like that is, don't let me
Dave's
down,
like,
you
tell
know?
me about your world. What is this, ice cream? Blah. Like,
Stepsister from Planet Weird, like the
Exactly,
Disney
yeah.
Channel.
yeah.
That's what I want. I want a pen pal from Pluto. That is, we're gonna just swap lives.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I just
reality
had like
show.
flashbacks to Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century. Like, when was the last time you thought of that
Dude,
show?
maybe we should watch that movie.
I
There's
just
a
thought of it
movie.
now.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't the aliens on that? They were just like beams of light.
I
Oh
don't
yeah, that's
remember.
right. It was like Northern Lights kind of a looking thing or something. Yeah, or no, not even. But yeah, just beams of light. Yeah.
I don't remember much
That was
about
in-
the
maybe in the
plot.
second
For
one?
me, that was all about like their attire. I liked like
Yeah,
their
yeah.
hair
I don't
and their
I
clothing.
don't really remember anything about the plot except that she used to say Zetus Lapidus. And I tried to say it once. My dad was home, my mom was gone somewhere, and I said Zetus Lapidus to my dad. It was like
Kendra!
the worst experience of my life. Like, you know
Wait.
those moments when you say to your mom or your teacher, like, I love you.
Love
or
you,
like,
Mom.
"Oh,
yeah.
I had such a similar moment, and I'm scarred from life as well. I totally know. So I was with my dad, and I was like, I think I was napping after school, and
Yeah.
I just remember my dad like hollering down the hallway, and he was like, I'm leaving. Like, do you want me to make you a sandwich? And I was like, no. But then I kind of like heard what he said, and I was like, oh, wait, of course I want a sandwich. So I was like, yes, penis me a sandwich, and like shouted it down the hall. I don't know if I was having like a scandalous dream or what. Like I was thinking
Penis me
about,
a
I was like,
sandwich.
can you penis me a sandwich? I was like, please make me a sandwich, penis me a sandwich. And I just remember him kind of like, he's like, waited a minute and was like, okay. Like nothing, like no comment about it. And my sisters bring that one up a lot. They'll be like,
That's so funny. With the
penis your
Zetas
sandwich?
Lapidus, you'd think in the writing room to be like, doesn't this kind of sound like penis, right? I mean, this is a kid's show. It sounds like you're saying penis
You would
to me.
think.
Like all I hear is penis. Maybe we should change
Well, I don't
it.
know.
But maybe
From
they were like,
Disney
no, that's good.
curious. Disney was always a little spooky in that way.
They are a little
Right, they're sneaking
scandalous.
in the dicks.
Yeah, they're like had the what was it like the Little Mermaid phallic
Right.
castles
That's true. There's all sorts of shit like that. So maybe they were trying to make us think about dicks.
subliminally.
Yeah, perhaps.
Motherfuckers.
It feels
Yeah.
off-brand. Not off-brand. It feels like maybe not for Xenon, but I agree. In the writing room, you would have thought.
Seriously,
You're like, all I hear you're saying is penis. You know, like maybe we change it.
that is
Because
so.
it sounds like you're saying penis. I think that's what kids are going to hear. Like it's penis.
Yeah. I will say those Disney Channel original movies, when Disney Plus came out, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna watch all of this stuff. It's gonna be so nostalgic. No, they are school projects. Like it could not be lower budget.
Really?
Like,
Even like,
Halloween Town, they're wearing like masks from the dollar store and they're
Yeah.
like supposed to be zombies. Like it kind of ruins childhood.
Oh.
Some
What
things
about,
just
like,
don't
Smart House?
age well, you know.
did you watch Smart House?
Yeah, I did not rewatch Smart House, but I would love to because it like kind of came true, but not. I mean,
In
Pam's
some
not
ways.
living
In some ways it did, yeah. Some ways it did, some
Yeah.
ways it didn't. Your house won't clean itself up if you ask it to. That's
Yeah, no,
We don't have that.
No,
I wish.
but you could project a music video on a wall.
yeah. And
For
you can
sure.
like talk to, you know, you can
Yeah,
say
like
like,
the electronic blinds.
you know, it's like Alexa, do this,
Yeah.
do that. You know, like we have that.
Yeah, it was just Pam.
Huh.
But I did watch Lizzie McGuire, and like I always thought Lizzie McGuire was like incredible, and then I rewatched it. I'm like, oh my god, this is the school project. It's
I think
really
I read
bad.
that they're
Wow.
doing a re-release of that or something.
It got canceled.
Oh, did it
because
really?
Apparently, Hilary Duff. I guess like Disney didn't want her to like grow up. They were being like very protective of how they portrayed Lizzie or something, and Hilary Duff wanted her to be like a true 30-something.
What did they want her to be? Like married with
Like-
2.5 children by age 30? Like what?
Probably. They took my 7th grade autobiography and they were like, "Here's God."
Make this girl's dreams come true.
Yeah. Dinner with Ruben Studdard
Right. Yeah. She's married to Ruben Studdard.
in a shack with 15 children.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh
Paper.
my God.
Where he's a
Papers
garbage
children.
man. Oh man. Oh, so many funny things.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it got canceled unfortunately. Before
Bummer.
it
We
even
may never get to
like-
see it
Yeah.
unless
Yeah,
we
we
start a
never
petition.
will.
It'll start right now. Let's get a petition going.
Eh.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Or not. Whatever. Well, Kendra, this has been so awesome. Thank you for doing this. Like,
Oh my gosh, of course. This was like good for the soul. I've had so many giggles and just fun memories.
Definitely.
I agree.
Were you nervous? You didn't seem nervous at all.
I don't know, was I nervous? I'm seeing two old friends.
yeah.
Okay, good.
I hope I didn't seem nervous. I
No,
do
not at
feel
all.
like I've had a few glasses of wine and it looks like it, but
I know. I'm like, my words are getting
We're
harder
We're
and
a couple
harder to
beers
come
in with
by.
these mason jars and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
well, you know.
No, this really felt just like catching up. I mean, this obviously that's what it was, but it's so great to catch up with
Yeah.
you. This was really,
I know.
really nice.
Oh, it was so great. Yeah. Well, please let me know if you're ever in New York. Christine, let me know when you are here. I would love to see you. even
Yes,
for, like, a
honestly,
cup of coffee.
I fly out next Tuesday, so I'll reach out. I'm gonna send you a picture of a cupcake I found. It's like
Okay,
it's like a
perfect.
muffin,
I
and
will
it's like
happily
loaded.
take-
It's like this thick with like loaded with cream and stuff.
Sounds
Sorry.
perfect.
I don't know.
I'm on board,
Gotta get you
as
a
you
better
know. Anything with food, I'll be there. So.
Cool. Let's do it. Let's give it a try. We'll
All
feed
right.
our sweet
Okay.
teeth.
Kendra Huffman, everybody.
Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you.